Hello everyone, my name is Alicia and my channel name is Pretty Brown Eyed Reader. Today I'm coming with a video about books about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. April 4th marks the assassination of Dr. King. Every year people pause to think about his death and what the impact of his death has had on the United States as well as the world. Each year I try and read something about Dr. King or other civil rights leaders to try and keep into myself what a nonviolent world we could live in, what would social justice look like if everyone had equal access to the same things. So that is one of the things I do as a reader, is to constantly remind myself of those things. So over the years, I have read some very interesting things about Dr. King and others who were civil rights leaders. So today I want to bring some recommendations, some books that others have brought to me when they found out that I like to read this type of thing. So let's get started on discussing some books about Dr. King. What I plan to read this year is a book written by Dr. King's son, Dexter Scott King, called Growing Up King. One of my coworkers actually suggested this book to me. She saw me reading biographies of Dr. King and others, and she said, why don't you read this? It's very good. And she pulled it out of her office library and suggested that I read it. The only caveat is that I have to have it done by December because she's retiring in December and she wants her book back so she can take it home and put it in her personal library. So I plan on reading that. I think it'll be very interesting. I've never read anything written specifically by his kids. I've read things about his kids, but nothing written by one of his children. So I think that will be a very interesting read. My coworker also gave me this book called Bearing the Cross, and it's about Dr. King and his leadership with the Christian Leadership Conference. This is actually, it says it's a Pulitzer Prize winning book, and it is prize winning book, and it is written by David Garrow. So I've never heard of him or this book until she handed it to me. So I plan on reading this as well before December. If I don't get, this one's kind of thick. If I don't get it all read, I will at least try and hit the highlights so that I can get that back to her. One of my favorite books about Dr. King is actually this one. It's very small. It is called The Words of Martin Luther King Jr. and it's actually edited by Coretta Scott King. So that has that personal feel to it, and it's just very remarkable words that you can use to quote. And like sometimes when I have to write something for church or for something at work, I can just pull out a quick quote from him and paraphrase it or get it. It gets me right into something that I need to do. So this is a very good book. Lastly, I would like to recommend this book by Tavis Smiley. It's called Death of a King, and it actually follows the last year of Dr. King's life. It goes from April 4th, 1967 to April 4th, 1968. It is a very challenging book to read because you see Tavis Smiley does a great job of showing us some of the emotional things that Dr. King is going through as he's battling, trying to discuss the Vietnam War. We often think that civil rights or Dr. King's legacy stopped at when the Voting Rights Act occurred, and sort of downplay his nonviolent philosophy and being very much opposed to the Vietnam War. So Tavis does a great job of chronicling all that during his last year. I did have a few issues with the way that Mr. Smiley wrote the book. At sometimes it felt a little gossipy. He mentioned some things that have been rumored, or some verified, some not verified. So that aspect of the book I didn't appreciate. And there's another part where Mr. Smiley constantly refers to Dr. King as Doc. He was not his contemporary, so how does he get to call him a nickname? But aside from those two things, the book actually is very good in looking at Dr. King in a different way, as not this Black history figure that we all only learn about once or twice a year, but as someone and following their last year of life is a very interesting read. So these were just a few books that are about Dr. King. On April 4th, I hope that you will take a moment to reflect upon all those who have died in sacrifice of freedom for everyone. And until my next video, I hope you have a great day.